Welcome to the deep dive. So you know how everyone's talking about AI? It feels like it's everywhere, solving everything.
Uh-huh. It's definitely the buzzword.
But then you hear about language models or LMs, and sometimes it gets a little fuzzy. Are they the same thing?
Yeah, that's a super common question. Is one part of the other?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And it's a really common point of confusion right now. Looking at the source material you pulled together, some really insightful articles, there's a vital distinction they lay out.
Right.
It's especially critical when you look at how businesses are actually using these technologies.
Yeah.
Not just the hype, but the reality.
Right. That's the mission for this deep dive. We're going to try and cut through the noise, get crystal clear on that relationship, AI versus language models.
Okay.
We'll dig into the practical examples our sources give us from different businesses and, help you see which tool is really built for which job.
Makes sense. Like getting a clear map for navigating this whole AI and business thing.
Exactly. Think of it as getting that map. Okay, let's unpack this. So according to the sources we dove into, artificial intelligence, or AI, is defined as this incredibly broad field.
Yeah, broad is the key word there.
The simplest way they put it is, it's any system designed to do tasks that typically require human intelligence.
And that immediately tells you the sheer scale of what falls under this umbrella. It's not just about computers that can hold a conversation, right?
Not at all. It includes things like making complex decisions, recognizing objects in images.
Predictive analytics, controlling robots.
And yes, it does include processing and understanding human language.
Which is where LMs fit in later, obviously.
Exactly. The sources highlight that AI comes in many flavors, too. It can be based on simple rules, complex statistical models.
Or systems that learn directly from massive amounts of data, like machine learning.
Right. We're talking everything from foundational machine learning algorithms and, deep learning approaches like neural networks.
All the way back to older expert systems, even.
Yeah. It's the big overarching concept, the giant umbrella term.
Okay, so if AI is this huge umbrella, what does that look like in the real world of business when we're not specifically talking about language?
Good question. What examples of this traditional AI did the sources point to?
Well, what's fascinating here is how these applications tackle core operational challenges that often don't involve text at all. Take retail, for instance.
Okay.
A huge application mentioned is demand forecasting. This is where a machine learning model looks at mountains of historical sales data.
Right, past performance.
Factors in things like seasons or promotions, and predicts exactly how much inventory a store or warehouse will need, maybe down to a specific item.
And that's pure efficiency, isn't it? It means companies can manage inventory just in time.
Avoiding those frustrating stockouts where you lose sales.
Or the expensive problem of having too much product gathering dust, that dead stock.
Exactly. Or shift to banking. A massive use case mentioned is fraud detection.
Ah, yeah, critical.
AI models are analyzing transaction patterns in real time, constantly looking for anomalies, things that don't fit.
They can spot something suspicious instantly and flag it.
Or even automatically block the transaction sometimes. The speed is key.
Absolutely. You need that immediate reaction to stop the fraudulent activity before it snowballs.
Then in manufacturing, the sources pointed to huge gains with predictive maintenance.
Okay, how does that work?
Here, AI analyzes sensor data streaming off factory machines, things like temperature, vibration, noise.
All that operational data.
To predict when a piece of equipment is likely to fail before it actually breaks down.
Wow, okay. So it's like seeing the future for machines.
Kind of, and it's a game changer instead of just scheduled maintenance that might be too early or too late.
Right, like changing the oil every 3,000 miles regardless.
Exactly. You only maintain when the data indicates it's actually necessary. That minimizes unexpected downtime and, well, it drastically cuts maintenance costs.
Makes total sense. And one we probably all encounter daily, dynamic pricing.
Oh yeah. Sources show this everywhere, from e-commerce sites to airlines, hotels.
AI is constantly adjusting prices in real time based on demand, what competitors are doing.
Even your browsing history sometimes, perhaps.
It's all about maximizing revenue while staying competitive, reacting instantly to market conditions.
Absolutely. And for driving sales and engagement, you have the ubiquitous recommendation systems.
On streaming services, retail sites, everywhere. Suggesting the next show to binge or product to buy.
All based on what you've already liked or viewed. It feels personal.
But the algorithms behind it are pure AI prediction and pattern matching, crunching the data.
Exactly. And finally, in finance, credit scoring.
Using AI for that?
Yeah. AI models evaluate a borrower's risk by analyzing a really wide range of financial and behavioral data points. much more than older methods.
Leading to decisions that can potentially be made faster and hopefully more objectively.
That's the goal. So looking across these examples, forecasting, fraud, maintenance, pricing, recommendations, scoring, you see how they're using AI for analysis, prediction, optimization, or control. And often they're crunching numbers or sensor data. That's the broad AI landscape.
Okay, so that's the big picture of AI tackling all sorts of tasks, often numerical or operational. Now let's zoom in on language models.
Right, the other piece of the puzzle.
The sources make it really clear. Language models, especially the large ones, the LLMs like GPT we hear about constantly.
They're everywhere now.
They are a specialized subset of that broader AI field.
Exactly. Specialized is the key. Their specific mission, what they are built and optimized for, is understanding and generating human language.
That's their superpower, you could say.
Pretty much. And they get that power by being trained on absolutely enormous amounts of text data. The internet, books, articles, code, you name it.
Just vast quantities of text.
Unbelievable amounts. Their training objective is basically to learn to produce language that is coherent, makes sense in context, and sounds, well, human-like.
So while they are absolutely a type of AI,
No question, they're AI.
they're AI meticulously designed for tasks that involve natural language.
Yes. This covers everything from creative writing and content generation to summarizing long documents, analyzing sentiment in text.
Even generating computer code based on plain English instructions, which is pretty amazing.
It really is. And enabling those conversational interfaces we're seeing more of.
So how does this language-focused AI actually show up and help businesses in practical ways? Not just the theory, but the application.
What kind of examples did the sources highlight?
Well, a really prominent one, and perhaps where many of us interact with LMs most often without maybe realizing it, is customer support automation.
Ah, chatbots. But better chatbots.
Exactly. Think advanced chatbots powered by LLMs that can genuinely understand complex customer inquiries phrased in natural language.
Not just rigid keywords like the old ones.
Right. They can handle a wider range of questions, feel more natural to interact with, and potentially resolve issues faster without needing a human agent involved immediately.
Plus, it provides that consistent 24/7 support, which is huge.
Definitely. Then, in the legal world, LMs are assisting with document drafting.
Drafting legal docs. How does that work?
A legal professional can provide templates and key information, maybe outline the core points, and the LLM can generate a first draft of a contract or a legal memo.
Okay, so it's like an assistant generating the boilerplate.
Sort of, yeah, which saves significant time on routine documents, letting the human experts focus on the truly complex legal thinking and strategy.
Makes sense. Boosts efficiency. What about marketing?
Marketing departments are also leveraging LMs heavily for marketing content generation.
Oh, I bet. For ad copy and things.
Absolutely. They can churn out drafts of blog posts, email copy, product descriptions, ad text.
And can they tailor it? Like make it sound different for different places?
Yeah, the sources suggest they can help tailor the tone for different audiences or platforms. Speeding up that content pipeline is a massive benefit.
I can see that. Content is king, but it takes time.
For sure. Another use case boosting productivity is meeting summaries and action points.
Oh, that sounds useful. Tell me more.
This is pretty slick. An LLM can transcribe a recorded meeting or video call.
Okay, transcription.
And then automatically summarize the main discussion points, pull out key decisions,
Wow.
and even suggest action items based on what was said in the conversation.
That would save so much time trying to remember who agreed to do what. Helps teams stay aligned.
Exactly. Keeps track of commitments without someone having to manually type notes the whole time.
Nice. What else?
Improving how people find information, whether it's employees internally or customers externally. Semantic search in knowledge bases.
Semantic search. So that means understanding the meaning of the search, not just keywords.
Precisely. Instead of having to guess the exact terms used in a document, you can ask a question in natural language like, how do I reset my benefits password?
Uh-huh.
And an LM can understand the meaning and find the most relevant documents or support articles, even if they don't use those exact words.
That makes company knowledge portals or customer self-service much, much more effective. Less frustrating searching.
Definitely. And finally, the sources mentioned HR applications, specifically resume screening and candidate matching.
Using LMs to read resumes.
Yeah, using LMs to analyze resumes and job descriptions, looking for semantic similarity, understanding the skills and experience described, not just keyword stuffing.
To help identify better matched candidates faster.
That seems to be the idea. speeding up the initial stages of hiring by filtering more effectively.
Okay. So yeah, looking at all these examples, customer support, drafting, content, summaries, search screening,
It's all language.
they're all fundamentally centered around processing, understanding, or generating human language. That's the common thread.
And this is where the sources really connect the dots, I think.
Yeah.
They highlight why understanding this difference, AI broadly versus language models specifically, is actually crucial for business.
It's not just academic.
Not at all. It's about picking the right tool for the right problem. You wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw.
Precisely. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the first core difference the sources emphasize is the scope of functionality.
Right. AI, in its broad sense, is built for that vast array of business tasks beyond language.
Like we discussed. Predicting demand, detecting fraud, optimizing delivery routes, controlling robotics.
All sorts of things.
Huh?
But language models, their primary strength, their core competency, is in tasks that specifically involve natural human language.
Automating conversations, creating text, understanding written input, generating documentation that's their wheelhouse.
You wouldn't typically use an LLM alone to, say, predict the stock market accurately
Yeah.
or identify a tumor in an X-ray.
Exactly. Different tools for different jobs. Then there's the data requirements.
How they learn.
Yeah. Traditional AI, particularly models built for specific predictions or classifications, often relies heavily on structured data.
Spreadsheets of sales figures, sensor logs, images that have been labeled cat or dog.
Right. It frequently needs specific, often manually labeled, data sets for training, especially for supervised learning tasks.
Whereas language models are different. They're pre-trained on that massive, unstructured sea of text out there. Billions of words.
And because of this huge pre-training, they can often perform surprisingly well on various language tasks without needing a huge amount of new task-specific data for fine-tuning.
They've already learned the general patterns and structures of language itself.
Exactly, they have that foundation. This difference also impacts integration and adaptability.
How easy they are to use in a business.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Building and maintaining a custom traditional AI solution for a specific business problem, like a perfect demand forecasting model tailored to your unique supply chain, often requires a dedicated data science team and significant custom development.
That's specialized build.
Usually, yes. But language models can sometimes be accessed as a more general-purpose tool, maybe through a cloud provider's API.
It's a more plug-and-play sometimes.
Potentially for certain tasks. A single underlying LLM could potentially be applied by different departments, marketing, HR, customer support for their various language-related tasks, without needing to build a completely new, bespoke model from scratch for each one.
That offers some flexibility.
It can. The output type is also quite distinct, as the sources note.
What comes out at the end?
Traditional AI typically gives you numerical outputs. A prediction number, like expected sales. A binary classification, yes, no, fraud, not fraud. A cluster assignment.
Or maybe a control signal, like adjusting a machine setting.
Exactly. And language models. They primarily produce human-readable text.
Words, sentences, paragraphs.
That's their main output. This makes them the go-to for tasks where the result needs to be communication, documentation, or interpretation in human language.
Makes sense. And finally, what about the business impact?
How do they actually change things? Traditional AI applications tend to drive efficiency and better decision-making across core operational areas.
How you manage physical goods, financial transactions, machine performance, logistics.
The nuts and bolts.
Improving the operational backbone, and language models, according to the sources.
They tend to enhance human productivity, improve communication internally and externally, and boost the quality and speed of content creation, specifically through their ability to interact with and generate natural language.
So the sources really emphasize this core point. While every language model is a form of AI,
it fits under the umbrella.
The vast field of AI is much, much bigger than just language models. Businesses are adopting AI for its analytical and operational power everywhere.
But they turn to LMs specifically when the core task involves bridging that gap between machines and human language.
Choosing between them fundamentally depends on the nature of the problem you're trying to solve. Structured reasoning and prediction. Probably traditional AI. Language and text. That's LM territory.
Understanding this distinction feels pretty critical then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's not just tech jargon. It helps you see past the hype when you hear AI is doing X in some business news story.
Right. Knowing if it's actually a specialized language model or a broader predictive system clarifies its real capabilities.
And just as importantly, its limitations, what it can't do.
Exactly. It empowers you, the listener, to think more clearly about what kind of AI tool is actually relevant for a specific challenge you might face or observe in a business setting.
Are you trying to optimize logistics based on shipping data? That's
Yeah.
one kind of AI thinking.
Are you trying to automate first draft email responses? That's likely another type, an LM.
It really helps identify the right tool for the job.
So we've really taken a deep dive today, haven't we, into this world of AI and language models.
We have. We've seen how LMs are this incredibly powerful language-focused part of the much larger, broader AI landscape.
We looked at those specific business examples from the sources, everything from predicting sales and detecting fraud with that broader AI
To drafting legal documents and automating customer support,
Yes.
specifically with LMs.
And we've really tried to highlight those crucial differences the sources point out in their scope, their data needs, how you integrate them, what they output.
And their ultimate impact on how a business operates or communicates.
Yeah, the source material paints a pretty clear picture. While they are deeply related, they are tools designed for different kinds of problems, offering distinct but often complementary benefits.
Definitely complementary.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a thought to mull over as you go about your day. Something the source has got me thinking about.
All right, let's hear it.
If traditional AI excels at operational efficiency by understanding data, crunching numbers, finding patterns,
The operational side?
and LMs excel at enhancing human interaction and productivity by understanding language,
The communication side.
where might the most powerful, maybe truly transformative business opportunities lie in bringing these two distinct capabilities together, combining that data insight with language fluency?
Interesting question. Combining the operational brain with the communication interface.
Something to think about.